Welcome back to the Last Week This Week podcast, episode 32. It's been a little while, but I'm Ian Scott.
I'm Zack Huber. We're in studio again.
Yeah.
Finally, it's been a very long, not very long, but it's been a minute.
It's been a few weeks. Apologies for the wait. I know some people have been wanting to hear our reviews on certain things.
Yeah.
And so, this episode is going to be a review-based podcast. We're just going to have like 3 reviews and just keep it simple.
For anybody who's new to the podcast, usually this is nerd topics, movies, TV, news, stuff. Right. Today is just going to be a heavy review, episode. Yeah. So, if you're not into it, that's cool. But we really wanted to catch up on some stuff. And just as a little life update for everybody, I moved.
Yep.
That's part of why we haven't been able to record. I live like an hour and a half away from Ian now.
Yep.
I'm very happy. We're still going to make the podcast work weekly. We're going to figure it out.
Well, at least our plan right now is every other week we're planning on a live stream. So it wouldn't be in a studio, but you guys would get to watch in real time, which is pretty cool.
So we're building that right now. So there won't be. We're gonna take care of everybody.
But every other week we're still planning on being right here.
Yes.
So
and what else? There's one other thing I wanted to say. Maybe we can figure it out. But.
Sure. But the 3 reviews we have today are...
Oh, and my computer's fucked. That's also partially why.
Sure.
My computer kind of is fucked.
We're pushing through it. We would have had to wait another couple weeks if we weren't. But
yeah.
So we're here.
Yeah.
But yes, the 3 reviews we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Long-awaited Secret Invasion finale.
Yeah.
Then, the Barbenheimer. Barbie and Oppenheimer we're doing as well.
Movie event of the summer.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to view it how we wanted.
No, I was pretty bummed. But I dressed up for Barbie?
You did.
I saw Oppenheimer in IMAX.
Yep, same here.
I have a lot to say.
Yeah.
But we're going to start with Secret Invasion first.
Yeah. Yep.
Ian brought notes for the first time, so maybe you want to start off with that, because I guess I'll say before we get into spoiler territory. This show really shit the fucking bed.
Yeah.
And I know, like, most of the episodes beforehand are generally around like a 5 or a 6. Maybe some like around a 7.
A couple times we get to a 7.
You know? So it's not like by any means like it's a terribly made show or it's horrible. It's just it's always for me it's been just a really flat.
I do think on a second watch it would be worse though. I
can but this finale just really was frustrating, really did some things that really annoyed me, and
every wrong turn.
It did. It really did. It did a lot of things that I think is what people complain about with superhero material in general.
Yeah,
absolutely. The one show or property that they really didn't, and nobody was going for what they ended up doing. Like nobody went into this show wanting what they did.
Yeah.
But they still did it. Which I know we're being vague, but
I
was
guess
just very unsatisfying.
I guess
and
we
very
can go
frustrating.
into spoilers now, though.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's how. That's how Ian probably feels too.
We're feeling the exact same way.
Yeah,
we're going to be on the same page in this review here. But yeah, so this one kind of started off. At least the first major thing I can think of is Rhodey is like super aggressive with the president at the very start. Mm-hmm. He's just like, "Yo, we gotta." I mean, I've already written up this thing you can say, and this is gonna like cause the end of all of this. If you bomb New Skrullos, then it's over. And he's just so aggressive about it, where it's just like it's so obvious that he's like a mole, or like he's a saboteur.
Yeah,
and so that is a pretty rough first start.
Also, no, he's the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And you have, I don't know, 5, 6, Secret Service guys. Just also, not that like I know it's TV, but like, excuse me, and not that it's not like you wouldn't do that, but if it's the president of the United States, you are not having just Secret Service men wheeling him around the hospital into an elevator, complete like there was that. I was like, wait, like as somebody who first like worked in healthcare, like I was like, okay, obviously that's ridiculous. But even as somebody who I just think as a regular viewer, you're like, I've heard other people just be like, what?
But like, as soon as that even started happening, like you knew where it was going. Like Sonya, like you knew she was fooling Rhodey, and you knew that they were. Oh my gosh! Apologies, everyone. So sorry. But you knew that like you knew how the plan was going to unfold. Like they were gonna catch Rhodey and the president, and they were I don't know. I confront them. I don't know. It just felt very base level planning, and not great planning at
predictable.
That. Yeah. But I guess this was supposed to fool us, by us, by them throwing Nick Fury at Gravik. We're like, oh well, maybe he won't show up at the hospital. But man, that and maybe that's the best thing of this finale is that Gravik scene.
Yes.
Yeah. Where because he has a great monologue.
Yeah,
he really does,
and he acts it really well.
He does,
like it's really intense, and I really like it.
But yeah, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson doesn't really match him.
No, okay, see, cool. Like also, like he really and I heard people say like, well, that's because it was Gaia the whole time of the like, and I was like,
mean, that's the only excuse.
Come on, like he's so not in that scene at all. Yeah. But the other thing before that I found ridiculous is even though it is Gaia who's pretending to be Nick Fury, why on earth would Nick Fury just willingly go into a completely radiated area, unprotected, like nothing? You're gonna die. You're not gonna be able to do anything. Like I was watching who I thought was Nick
Fury, right?
Coughing and obviously like doing horrible.
Hey, Guy's a good actor.
Sure.
I mean, at least for that.
At least for that, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, why? Like I was like, why are you going in there? Like if you have all these secret, and you have technology to fucking hide your face, you tell me you can't get any sort of thing that could like protect you. If you're really serious about stopping this thing, you're gonna go in and maybe die by the time you even get to Gravik.
Yeah,
like it's just like, what was I supposed to feel in that moment? Like oh, Nick's really like he's so determined. He was gonna give his life. I didn't feel that at all. I was like, why are you fucking doing that?
Yeah. I feel it. It almost makes it obvious that it's not him, looking back on it. But I mean, I don't know. There's just so much logic it's just thrown out the window in this. Like, first off, in the monologue, Nick's response is, well, after a few years, we knew we couldn't find any planet for you guys. And I'm like, the logic behind that alone is just baffling, because we know in the MCU there's like tons of planets out there. To name a couple, we have Titan. We have the planet that Thanos was on at the end. No.
Oh yeah.
At the end of End, or at the beginning of Endgame.
You're right. Yeah.
And I'm just like, those are both abandoned planets that Thanos could just live on.
Unless you want to say they're uninhabitable for Skrulls, which
doesn't make sense.
There's no reason
because Steve Rogers. Well, I guess he's a super soldier. Was there anyone normal?
But like, yeah. I mean, excuse me. Like, especially in this universe, there's no world.
Right. It's
and
so
then
dumb.
You didn't tell anybody. Like,
like maybe just once in the show mention that it's also Captain Marvel's fault. Like maybe just like, I don't know. I feel like she's a pretty huge part of this, right?
Yeah, they could have brought her into it somehow,
right? But yeah, basically, they throw logic again out the window, and Gravik just is like so confident that Fury won't get powers that he's just like, I'll just turn on the machine with you in it.
What was that?
I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, they calculated that, which is like so dumb. But I don't know.
Like even like because that's the other thing. Like, did Gaia get all those powers beforehand? Which I would guess, yeah. But like,
no.
Was it?
It was at that point.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I guess she just got like the couple that was. But yeah, like, why wouldn't it affect both of them? And if your goal was to kill him, and now he has those same powers, you've now
maybe
made
he's thinking it only works on scrolls. I guess maybe that's it. It's a scroll machine. I don't know.
We shouldn't have to like try to come up with excuses.
I feel you.
Because that was so dumb. That was literally so like, why wouldn't you like throw him out?
Sure. And then just
killed him.
Yeah.
You also didn't even need to you could have just killed him and then done it.
Sure.
Why? But it's because we had to get this fucking superhero fight, which is, I mean, it's
maybe one of the worst things I've ever seen in the MCU.
I didn't care about any of it.
Well, I mean, it's two characters. Well, I guess I kind of care about them. And
also, before you even find out that it's Gaia, when you were like there was a bit of me that was going, oh God, you gave Nick Fury superpowers.
Oh, yeah, that was. I'm so happy that it wasn't him.
I will say, yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't get him.
I was like, in the moment, I was like, no, please don't do this. Yeah, and even then, like, it didn't turn into anything good.
No,
it was
also Nick Fury would have been the most powerful being in the MCU. Besides,
and now Gaia is, but
and now Gaia is. What is the point of, besides that she doesn't really have an allegiance or like wants to help the world, she just wants to help her people. What, I mean, like, yeah, like you could say, well, we can't really rely on her to save the world. But at this point, like if she was, you wouldn't need the rest of the MCU. You would need nobody. You just be like, hey, guy, can you fix this? Oh, yeah, I got you.
I mean, there has to be some serious nerfing that goes on in like the next project she's in.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she has like, Captain Marvel's already the most powerful being in this universe. And then, or at least the most powerful superhero. And then you just add like 10 other powers on top of that.
I mean, like everyone's powers.
Yeah. And
not just Avengers.
No, yeah, villains. Yeah. Ebony Maw and those like, oh gosh, what were those like monster type things in Infinity War that Thanos used for his army in the end battle?
The Qatar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chitauri.
Those were there.
Cole Obsidian, which was that big guy.
Yep.
Literally, Hulk. I'm sorry, the Hulk.
Yeah.
And Captain Marvel, and what else? I mean, Thor. What? The power of Thor. And that's just what, 3 beings?
Yeah, and then you also
have like a shit ton. And also, what's the point of Winter Soldier? What's the point of Captain America?
Right, there's like 4 or 5 super soldiers they like drag into this, and you're like, just pick one. Just pick one.
What? I mean, and they, no training required. Just knows how to do it.
She just knows how to use Mantis's powers. She knows how to use Ghost's powers.
Ghost wasn't even there. How did they get that?
Yeah, I don't. Good question, man. I have no idea.
But
good Lord,
and it's also so frustrating because it's like they never even explained why they made that fucking thing.
They just needed some mega backup plan. I don't know.
Like that pissed me off too because I was like, if they don't explain why they made this. It was to make Gaia the most powerful. Why did we have this thing?
Yeah, like why would Nick commission those scrolls to go clean up the battlefield if he didn't have some larger purpose for it? I don't know. It's I mean, and on top of all that, you have just awful CGI, just like some of the worst. Like compared to the budget that we know the show had, it's like inexcusable, genuinely.
I don't know. I guess people said that, but I don't. Maybe I have to watch it again.
It's so bad, Zach. And like,
because I don't know. I guess it didn't bother me, but I was already like upset. So,
but like, and there's even just bad logic there. Like why would Drax's tattoos be on her arm? Why would Ebony Maw's rings be on the hand?
Well, I will give that
his rings.
Look, I'll give here. This is why I'll give it a pass, because we would, as audience members, we would not know that. I don't think we would necessarily know that that's going on. It's like a visual indicator that they're using that power. So I think give that a bit of a pass.
Use like 3 or 4, maybe 3 or 4 at the most, superheroes, and just have them be the recognizable ones. Don't do the stupid crap.
Sure, but do you know how like the original like Super Skrull like story went down and what it originally was?
No.
It was that the Skrulls wanted, like, they could never like beat the Fantastic Four. And so one of them got like all of the powers of the Fantastic Four.
There you go.
You know, in like Rise of the Silver Surfer, how they all like Johnny Storm and all of them to, and then that's basically like, it's like a callback. But you're on fire. You have rocky skin. You turn invisible. You have long arms.
Yeah.
You know who those people are, and it was just those 4. This is everybody.
It's just it was just for visuals and like, I don't know, just for fan hype, or just
who
like,
likes it? Who liked it? I don't. I'd love to talk to them.
And I'm so,
not that's if you like it, I'm not shit. Like I just don't like it. I would be curious as to why you like it,
because like,
and that would be an interesting conversation.
It's upsetting because like Kevin Feige is the one who pushed this end fight to happen.
Really?
Yeah. He was like there was like a list of, there was like 3 things he wanted in the show to happen, which was that Rhodey doesn't have his legs, like he can't use his legs at the end of the show. Nick Fury's back in space, and he wanted to have a Super Skrull fight. So I'm like, this is Kevin Feige's fault. All of this to me, because you pushed for something that was so far from like the original Secret Invasion story and just wanted
which is fine.
Sure, but you molded it into this.
I don't even know.
I don't know. It's like it was a Nick Fury showcase without a ton of depth on Nick Fury. Yeah,
really?
Almost any. Yeah, and
which I feel validated that my complaint at the beginning of the show, which was exactly that. I don't think that we're getting that. They just dropped us into it, and we didn't get anything.
Right.
And then I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I didn't get any of that. I knew it. Like I just felt it. And also before we move on to other things.
I still have some more to say.
I know. But like, I want to make sure we were able to talk about your stuff. And the world, even though, they're not in World War III anymore, there's not that verge of nuclear apocalypse.
Right. It's in a worse state.
It is in a worse state. Nothing is resolved.
Well, I mean, Gravik's dead, which I want to talk about that. But
this, if this was a regular TV show, you kill Gravik, episode 6, episode, 7. You still have this whole other thing that needs to be resolved. This is not like a cool cliffhanger.
No, this is like the world's in chaos and I'm just going to go back to space.
And you have people being vigilantes, killing other people who they think are Skrulls. And you're like, I'll fuck off to space. Which is
a much cooler concept than what we got in the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it also, again, like I don't have an issue with it. Like I think it's cool. Like I think it's interesting to be like, because that's kind of like, I feel like a commentary on things that have actually happened in
that's what they were
our
going
world.
For.
For sure. Yeah. But oh my God, it was so rushed and so like, is this really where we're leaving the state of things?
A minute-long montage where the president spoke, which was also dumb. But yeah, like first I want to get into these 2 deaths that happened. I think they're both so lame. Both, like, one, Gravik, he's just shot by a Captain Marvel beam.
Yeah.
And you're like,
doesn't he have the extremist thing?
Yeah, right. It's so there's no reason he should be.
Is it like once you shoot his heart and most of it
wasn't even his heart? It was his stomach. So like that was terrible. And then you had the standoff with Rhodey and Nick Fury. And I'm just so upset that we got to learn nothing about Rava. I mean, zero motivation for why they betrayed Nick Fury earlier than they technically did. Zero depth to the scroll that stole Rhodey for the last 10 years. And then she just dies.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so that's it. It's over. You just needed to shoot him in the head. I don't know. It's just
and it maybe it'd be cool if it did go back further than
right.
Because I was seeing something even today. Like this is not confirmed. I've not read anything, but it was saying like confirmed. He was taken over after, around Falcon and Winter Soldier, as opposed to like before that. I was
seeing that from a fan page. But
okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
But still, like people were breaking down like, and I know it's a lot. Like it's a lot to plan for something like this. But like they were saying in Endgame, you clearly see Rhodey's bleeding red.
Yeah, you do. Which is bad.
Sure. And I guess if you had this plan the whole time,
but they didn't,
which they probably didn't.
I mean, like, from what we hear is that they talked about it back in like 2014, 2015 with Don Cheadle, and Don Cheadle was like totally game for it. But then I don't think they ever thought about it again until this. So
maybe,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it is cool, the concept that Rhodey was a Skrull for the last 10 years, but I think there are moments that are now a little diminished because it wasn't real Rhodey. And like with him and Nebula, I love that scene where they get to relate to one another, and then you have Tony's death in an Endgame, and he's the first one there, and you're like, and someone argues about the fact that like, Rava in those 3 years, or I guess actually Rava in those 7 years, probably built a really strong relationship with Tony and was actually emotional at the end, and I was like, yeah, sure, maybe.
I mean, she has all those memories.
Sure, she does. And she got a lot of new ones with him. So it's possible. I don't hate it, but I am excited. But
why couldn't we?
In the future
like you were saying.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we learn more about that Skrull?
Yeah, right. Because now it feels like there's no explanation for why he was a Skrull the last 10 years. It's just he was. And now we got to deal with the consequences, which are cool consequences, but I don't know. I need more depth, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also upset that there's this just random throwaway line at the end where they're like, yeah, the Kree are open to negotiating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? How did you hear that? Why? Why are they open to negotiating? I don't know.
And I think this is going to tie directly into the Marvels somewhat.
I'm almost
very loosely, probably.
I will almost be surprised though if it does, because it feels like the MCU's planning is at like an all-time low. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess at the least, I expect to see Nick Fury's wife in space, and I think that might be all we see. I don't know.
There's just I just don't know how I'm supposed to believe most stories after this,
right?
Being like, oh, life is somewhat normal, and we're not, and like, let's not talk about any of the stuff
Earth
that's
happening. Earth is in full chaos.
Earth is
on so many levels,
more than ever before.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're just supposed to. I don't know, skip to like a Daredevil show where like maybe there'll be some stuff addressed. I feel like it's going to be its own thing.
Yep.
And I'm just like, can we please get, I feel like they should have an Avengers movie to like clean up everything.
That's what I was saying. Like, I think Phase 4 needed one at the end. Like, I think every phase needs an Avengers movie to end it. And it's the universe is lost without it.
And I think I'm buying more and more into I still doubt, like part of me doesn't think they'll do this, but I am thinking maybe they'll. I think it's a lot of people's like wishful thinking, but they're saying after Secret Wars, it'll be like a bit of a reset.
I mean, from everything Bob Iger's saying is that, they're scaling back and
but that doesn't
evaluating content. Sure. But it does mean, I think, less amount of content, which is good.
Content is content. It's just, it has to be good. Like
I
it
feel
has
you.
like if there's a lot of it, as long as it's good.
But we wouldn't.
But like if it's even if it's less, which it's been this year,
right?
Secret Invasion was not, and Loki coming up, like the trailer looked cool,
but Secret Invasion also looked great. The trailer, so
I don't know what to think.
Yeah, no, I'm just
like, well,
I'm kind of excited. I guess
I'll watch it.
Yeah,
and if it excites me, cool. I mean, I did like the first season.
Yeah, me too.
But
that was genuinely for me the last actual like solid good Marvel show. I know you would probably put Miss Marvel in there, but
but like the ending, I know the ending of Miss Marvel is but
yeah,
I still think it's way more solid than everything else.
I would agree. Like that's the best thing since Loki for an MCU show.
Yeah.
But that's not saying a whole lot. But yeah, I think that's our thoughts on Secret Invasion finale. We're really negative. I know after episode 3, I was like, well, we'll see how this goes. It's looking good. And no. It did not end up good. Yeah.
But we're going to take a short break and we'll be back in a second.
Welcome back. We are going to talk about Barbie. Pretty good movie, I would say.
A big change of pace from how we feel about Secret Invasion.
Yes.
I think
it's going to be a huge change of pace.
Yes.
Don't expect the rest of this podcast to be negative.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No way. No.
But yeah, so give me your thoughts. Barbie.
Yeah. Start like just general impression. I think it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a it's a pretty, I don't want to say anything's like perfect, but I will say it is a beautifully made, impressive piece of art that is also a pop culture toy.
Yeah. I think it's got a lot of heart to it.
Product-ish thing, but it is a really beautifully crafted movie. And I don't know really many things that are close to it or try to do what it tried to do.
It's very different. Sure.
And out of all the conversations I've had with many people since it's come out, I mean, it's everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And
it's good.
Like everybody wants to see it. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna get into some spoilers.
I mean, how do you feel about it before we do that?
So I'm not as in love with it as you are. I did see it when I was sick, so it kind of like lowered my experience a bit.
I thought he was crying sometimes.
Yeah,
which I was like, cool.
I mean, there were emotional parts for sure.
Yeah.
But no, my nose was running pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Ryan next to us, he was sick too, and I was like.
Both of you are crying.
My boys are crying at the Barbie movie.
No. But no, I did really I had a really good time.
Yeah.
I think like easily Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie just like they're what made the movie for me. Even as much heart as there is in this, I think if their performances weren't there, I'm not sure I would be like that gung-ho about it. Because they do such a great job of like playing these like doofus airheaded characters, and then when faced with like real challenges, they get so emotional and like real. And I'm like, this is like your full range here, and I'm so happy to see it in a Barbie movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I can really say without spoilers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So movie starts really nice. You just get thrown in the Barbie land.
Yeah. With a Lizzo song.
Yeah.
That is kind of is like a narration of what is going on at the opening scene.
I forgot about that.
And then it changes the lyrics to a much darker tone, which I thought was really smart.
No, for sure. Favorite part of that was probably that beach scene in the beginning.
Really? That was your favorite?
From the intro. Like, their introduction to Barbie Land. Like, just all the Ken saying hi to Barbie, and then you have like Simu Liu's Ken and Ryan Gosling's Ken beefing, and I don't know. I thought it was good.
That was your favorite part of the movie?
Of the whole? No, I said of the intro.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, not the whole movie. Favorite part of that movie, though, I might have to say it's that. It might have to be that Ken fight.
It's pretty good.
It's a pretty great fight.
It's a pretty.
I'm not gonna lie.
When I was watching it, I was a bit. My mouth was kind of open. I was like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think they did a really great job of building out that Barbie world. I mean, just they look like real sets, and I'm pretty sure they were.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looked like they were toys, and yeah, it all really worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and I guess like it also set up the rest of the movie where you like clearly showed this dynamic where like all the Barbies are in control and all the Kens are just like lower beings almost.
Yeah.
And so basically Barbie gets these thoughts of death and her feet get flat. And they go to the human world, and Ken kind of sneakily follows her. And I love the transition from Barbie to the human world, the way they have to get there through the car, and then
that's all practical effects apparently.
That's great. That's great. And then they just kind of skate into LA. Not sure why it's LA, but that's fine with me. But I think
Mattel headquarters, I guess.
Okay, so they just spawn in the city that Mattel lives in.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they did a good job of showing them kind of like fish out of water. And yeah, I think they go on two separate paths, and I think that's pretty great to show. Ryan Gosling's Ken is not on a great path.
Yes.
Yes. But he's on a path of learning.
Yes.
And so is Barbie. But she's learning.
But it's a path that makes sense.
No, yeah, totally. If you've been oppressed your entire life, why would you not want to go for a patriarchy, I guess? Yeah. So no, it makes total
somebody
sense.
is like talking to you like you matter.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that
patriarchies have horses, so
yeah. But this movie's gonna be quoted for years and years.
Yeah, for sure.
Because everybody I meet, or not, me talk to, we're just constantly quoting like things from that movie.
Yeah.
You know, especially the horses. Part.
Yeah. But speaking of the human world, I kind of loved Mattel, even though they were like goofy to like level 10. They felt like they were in the Barbie land almost, which I guess could kind of make sense for why Barbie land is how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Will Ferrell was great as the CEO.
And he wasn't necessarily evil.
No. I think Mattel was very like, they allowed the creators of this movie to like make jokes about them, but it felt like they were like, no, we don't want to be the villain of this movie. And they were just a force that was going against Barbie. They just wanted her back in Barbie land. There wasn't like a big, plot to overthrow Barbie or anything. And they weren't even supportive of Ken. They were like, what are we doing with Ken selling out?
I think they just were like, nobody wants this movie to feel like Mattel wants to be seen as like the good guys.
Right.
I feel like they handled it, at least Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach handled it in a way that was just really interesting to me, because this movie feels like something that could only come out now.
Yeah.
Because of being so self-aware. of how people are perceived and the internet. And I think everybody was very aware of what, like, how people would feel about certain topics. And they were able to basically have Mattel fit into that stereotype of, it's a company, they only care about money.
Right, they're corporate doofuses.
They weren't like evil, they weren't the good guys. They were just, they only cared about money.
Just one-tracked corporate bosses.
But it's also funny because as much as this movie is obviously about money, because every movie is about making money to some degree.
Right.
This was obviously something that Mattel was like, they could have just made a movie they could have okayed any movie that was just pap and surface level and just fun.
Right.
Which is also a complaint that I thought was interesting that I would hear from people who were, because I had been saying
it was surface level?
Well, what I was saying for a long time was I thought this movie was going to be like a Trojan horse. It was going to be something that people were like, oh, it's just, it's going to be fun. And then I was thinking everyone's going to leave with a much deeper, movie, which is exactly what they got. Yeah. And even more, it went deeper than I thought it would go. And but some people where I've heard, in around me just go, it was just, I just wanted it to be fun, and it got to like,
I know some people thought it got a little preachy, which look, I can't blame you. Like maybe some of those speeches went on a little long, but I think it served such a better, like it served such a purpose for a better story, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Is like, if we had just this fun movie and it was surface level, I'm not sure I would love it. You know, I think it needed that ending scene with Barbie and the creator of Barbie and Barbie realizing she can be whoever she wants.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought there were a lot of, maybe not a lot, but there were a few really beautiful moments in that movie that I think, make it an actual movie,
Yeah. I agree. And what I was, I guess, trying to get to is they, as much as it is about money, they okayed a movie that wasn't just surface level, just fun. Yeah. It was a movie that had something to say.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it handled all the ideas of femininity, consumerism, patriarchy, being a woman in, a man's world.
Yeah.
Conveying the flip side, through the Kens, through the Barbie world.
Right. Because I was almost worried that, it wouldn't go deep and that they would just be like, well, the Kens are back to being our slaves, basically, and we're just going to rule the world again. And I'm just, no, but it wasn't that. And, they made the Kens realize they had worth and gave them a place in their society.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think it's a really wonderfully wrapped story at the end there.
Yeah. And I also think that people who find this movie preachy, I won't take that away, that like, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But to anybody who, and this is mostly goes towards men who watch this movie and are deeply offended and triggered.
Right.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. You got
a little looking at yourself there.
Like, if you can't take what this movie's like throwing at you,
right?
Like, I don't know, man. Like,
it's really not saying that all men are bad. It really isn't.
This is, and it's not saying that like women are all perfect either or anything. There's none of that agenda. And I'm just frustrated that like, I knew like there was going to be a bit of that, but it's just frustrating every single time. Just grow up. It's not attacking men.
Yeah.
It is just, and it's okay to have criticism. It is, and it's been like that for a while. And I think they handled what it means to, maybe not like super deeply, but I do think that they handled like what it means to be a man. Doesn't need to be like what they originally think it is.
Right.
Like, and especially in the song, like, I'm just Ken. There is a arc there.
Yeah, absolutely there
and
is.
it in the song, and it's it's great, and like that's the I guess I don't want to get too deep in this stuff, but you know, just being a guy is enough.
Yeah.
That's all. You don't have to be whatever. You can just and you are enough. You are Ken enough. And that's what it's about. And it's, I don't know. I just find it frustrating that that's like something that people like, you know.
Yeah, I feel you.
But regardless, I think this movie really handled the plasticness of the Barbie world.
Oh yeah, I mean everything looked great,
and the real and then just really getting into like the nitty gritty with like the mom's daughter. I forget their names, but like she's just like going straight into her about what Barbie is and and apparently I don't know if this is true, but they all are apparently dressed like the Bratz dolls.
Really?
Like the classic Bratz dolls, because that was a
that was like a competitor. Yeah.
And like that was a complete the answer to Barbie, because Barbie was like the perfect doll. And I've talked to people who were like, I don't know if I even want to see the Barbie movie because Barbies as a kid always made me feel as like a girl to like I wasn't good enough because I never looked like those Barbies. And I feel like this movie address
really puts
that.
a different spin on.
And I was like, I feel like that's why we should watch, because I don't think it's going. And that's what. And that's why I was saying, like, that's where the movie seems like that, and then you see it, and you're like, no, it talked about that.
I think this did kind of wonders for Barbie's image, like this movie.
Yeah, and Ken.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Alan.
The only thing about the movie that I and it's not like a big complaint. It's not really a complaint. It's just I wish Alan had an arc.
Yeah.
That's all.
I said that I think right outside the movie to you guys. I was like, yeah, I mean, at least Midge got some like explanation, but Alan was just like, he was just randomly thrown in and just kind of randomly a part of the group. And I mean,
he's just a badass, I guess.
Was he a badass?
He like beat up all those Kens or whoever.
Oh yeah, I guess I forgot about
when they were trying to leave.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was gonna bring up the fact that he tried to escape Barbie Land with the mother and daughter.
And he beat them all up.
That was then.
I think so. And he's like, I'll never.
Oh yes, you're right. Holy, I forgot about that scene. Yeah, with the construction worker guys. Yeah.
I think
they were working on the road, right? I thought. I don't know. Whatever.
He beat up a bunch of Kens.
Yeah. No, but Michael Cera was pretty great as Alan, even though he didn't have an arc.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would have liked that. I think that might be like my only kind of big complaint about it. Because I really don't have any complaints.
I think the dialogue was great. I think the only maybe I could see somebody having a complaint that the Barbies and the Kens don't necessarily, like, you could almost see it as like coming from a kid's perspective. They don't really have it like when Ken's like, I think I should come over tonight. And they're like, to do what? And they're like, I don't know. But then they'd have like Barbie would go into the real world. And maybe you could say it's because she's getting all these influences and feelings from the mom that was playing with her.
Right.
But she seemed to have like knowledge of like more nuanced things and like things of the real world. Like for example, like she would say like, I don't have a vagina, or like she would be like,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Have these like critiques about culture.
Well, it was also interesting that
which was interesting.
Everyone was aware though too that like they were in Barbie Land and that there was an actual real world out there.
They were like, we fixed the real world. Like, you know, because
they're empowering women and right.
But yeah, no, I mean,
look, the logic doesn't have to make perfect sense.
No.
I think that's like the fun part of the movie.
Yes.
And I mean, obviously the logic makes zero sense with how they get back and forth to the real world.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny and it works.
Yeah. And I knew the Billie Eilish song before we watched the movie.
Oh yeah. I don't honestly remember most of the songs at this point.
Man, I keep listening to the soundtrack.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, the Billie Eilish song is like the big moment at the end with this like James Turrell-esque changing light background that's beautiful and like surreal-ish. But throughout the movie, they'd play like the motif in the background of that song, and like every single time I'd get like chills. I'd be like, oh, this is, and then by the time it got to that part, I was like,
you're like, yeah, this is working for me.
I was just
yeah
it was just emotional.
Nice.
It was
Well,
it just felt like a big build up, because they would have like every now and then these emotional moments, and that would be the motif, and it just felt like a little, to me, like it felt like a great trick in the way that like your brain got used to like when those notes would come in is it was emotional, and so it was like this big like release when the whole thing started playing.
I'll have to listen to it again. Yeah. Nice. But yeah, I think that's our thoughts on Barbie, right? We both really like it.
Yeah. And I think funny enough, like it's like Ryan Gosling's Ken is definitely one of the best cinematic characters. Yeah. And it feels weird because this movie is about Barbie, but
he's such an integral part of this movie. Yeah.
And I don't know I hate to bring up like sequels, because I don't necessarily, like, now that I get older, I'm like,
I don't want a sequel for this.
We don't need sequels, but it's probably going to get one, because
I think so.
It just made $1 billion.
But Mattel's got a lot of other movies on board here. You know, like,
so does DC, and they were like, we're making a Joker too.
I feel ya. It's just like, this movie absolutely doesn't need it, which is frustrating.
And you know, Greta Gerwig was saying like, I don't even know
what I would do for you, right?
But you know, if Todd Phillips can come up with like this cool musical-esque idea for Joker 2, like, but regardless, I don't know if you can. I think the right script and the right people can make a Barbie movie work without Margot and Ken, or Margot and Ryan Gosling, but they sold the movie.
Oh, you know, I would need them again.
And Margot was like, it's crazy. She is like unifiably like Barbie.
Oh yeah,
unifiably Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's now like two characters, just like that is. And
they're so different, like absolutely on opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. So I mean,
kind of. Kind of.
One's absolutely chaotic, and the other is a very uptight, perfect woman. You know, at least at the beginning, she is.
Yeah. I guess I was leaning towards like more because they're both so animated, as opposed to like one being like a more like not natural, but you know, like more down to earth ish sort of portrayal. Like if you were like a Tony Soprano and you were like, that's like, you know, or like that's Walter White, or like, you know, it's like that sort of thing. But like, yeah, she's now iconic for like two things, if not more. I don't even know.
She's great in everything, honestly.
I know. It's kind of infuriating. But not infuriating as in the sense that like, why can't I be good at all of these? Like, why can't, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, that's crazy. Yeah. She's like good in everything.
I feel you. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we're going to take a small break, and then we'll be right back with some Oppenheimer review. We are back, and we are ready to review some Oppenheimer. Yeah. So I know we didn't see this together.
Yeah.
I got a text from you saying it was staggering. So that's pretty much your general feeling towards it.
Yeah. I'll let you. It seems like you want to say something. So.
I mean, I absolutely love this movie. It's definitely a top. I don't know. It could be best movie of the year at this point.
Could be.
It is genuinely like a masterpiece of storytelling. It does it in such a like unconventional way too, that, you know, it's so Nolan, and I think, you know, on top of that, the performances from everyone are next level performances. The soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah.
I couldn't like this movie much more than I do right now. Yeah.
Okay. It is, yeah. Because when I say it's staggering, I say that, and I do think that this is like a masterful movie, and I do think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I do have some critiques, funny enough.
Okay.
I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I love everything.
Sure.
But I don't, they're not necessarily like bad things. They're just like questions.
Okay.
And whatnot. But it is, yeah, it's 3 hours, and it, if you haven't seen it, I was not prepared for the breakneck pace of this movie.
It's pretty fast paced.
It just goes almost immediately from the start. You are going
right,
and it does not let up.
I don't feel like it's a bad pace.
It's not a bad pace by any means. It just you go.
Sure.
There's not like a I'ma ease you into the story. It just goes.
Yeah.
From the start. But I do have some critiques. But yeah, it at the end of the movie, I did feel like that is a lot of movie that I just witnessed, and it's incredible, and I have a lot of feelings about it. But I mean, everything you said, I mean, it's very Nolan, and like it's almost hard to describe what that means unless you haven't seen a Christopher Nolan movie. But it's so interesting to see it like a Christopher Nolan movie about a real world thing that happened, which is the same thing that happened with Dunkirk. But this way, it builds to that high of feeling like this epic thing is happening.
Right.
Because in Dunkirk, it's more of like a race against time.
Okay.
It still has that.
Sure.
But it's like an end. There's a big climax and a big, like, this is the most important, it feels like the most important thing to have ever happened in the world.
Sure.
Is how it's presented in a lot of ways. But I guess you want to go into spoilers?
Yeah, we can go into spoilers now. I mean, and we usually do like a kind of a recap on these kind of things. I don't think we really can because there's so much here. And it kind of goes through so many different timelines. And,
I mean, we can say like, I guess it starts with, there's, at least running throughout the movie, there's 1 and then there's 2. And 1 is in color, and that is Fission. It's called Fission.
Sure.
And so that is from what, and I have not really had a lot of time. I usually like to read things about things after the movie, but with moving, I haven't. But what I believe is Fission before the bomb goes off.
Right.
But also in reference to the way that they activated that first bomb was with Fission. And the guy who is played by Benny Safdie, who was the guy that was like, but what if we use hydrogen?
Right.
That is, you need fusion. That's a fusion reaction. And so that is what Strauss, who's played amazingly by Robert Downey Jr., is the black and white. And it more is focusing on his perspective and going through the repercussions of like what it means after the bomb's kind of gone off.
But I would say there's a third kind of piece in there, which is like the hearing before the trial, like in the closed room with the three men and the so I feel like that was a very that was like, and they went back to that a lot.
Yeah. And it was a great way to tell the story. It was a very interesting way.
And it never felt unnatural.
Aaron Aldreich I was like, there was Gary Oldman as Truman.
He almost didn't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't recognize him until after the movie.
I mean,
I was like,
I was like, his performance was, I mean,
but also, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. was amazing as Strauss.
Matt Damon, Florence Pugh,
Rami Malek at the end.
That was because when he showed up, I was like, why do you have Rami Malek in this role?
Sure, yeah.
And then it was like, oh, now I understand.
There you get it. Yeah. I also thought, gosh, what's her name?
Emily Blunt.
Yes, I thought she was amazing as his wife.
I thought she was good. I thought she was very good.
What sold me was her hearing, like when she fought for him.
That's what. Yes, and I felt like if not for that scene, I felt like maybe her role was like she was not used. But
I also
that's
really like the scene where she goes up to him and he's like distraught over I thought like her telling him to get it together was really good. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like it starts off with, you see those two, you know, go through his time working and going through colleges, you know, becoming a professor and then teaching, and then you go to getting recruited to the Manhattan Project and all of his time with being a part of like socialism, communist sort of parties, affiliations.
That first act did a really great job of showing he was like a very flawed individual, you know?
Yeah.
And
he was, but like flawed as in how? Because I don't think it's
flawed to society in a way.
Flawed
like,
to that time in American history.
Right, because it's not like he was a full-on communist. He just believed that they probably had some good ideas, which they probably did.
Yeah.
And you know, and I guess the other flaw there is picking the wrong women. Which is, you know, kind of a problem for him.
I understand.
But yeah, I think you know, they showed that to set up the rest of the movie, and I think it worked pretty well.
Yeah. And then, you know, we get the bomb going off.
Yeah.
Then, which I've heard, you know, somebody was making a complaint during a live stream where a YouTuber was, you know, kind of discussing a bit of the movie. You know, somebody brought up, all that stuff after it should have just been, movie ends when the bomb goes off.
Oh, stop.
And I was like,
that ruins the point of the movie.
Yeah. And I was like, it was like, you would think, oh, the bomb goes off, that's the apex.
Sure.
But in an amazing like fashion, it just, how does everybody react? How does he gets pushed away from like the government and knowing what's going on. He's now put into a life of being a public figure and dealing with that.
Right.
This stuff with Strauss, and it all builds to this like huge, like I got the feeling like, but like, here's the thing. I need to see this movie again because even though I feel like I understand like what happened, it was hard to hear some things sometimes. Really? Oh yeah. Okay. There's times with like in the especially at the beginning of the movie where they're in the court hearing and people are talking and then other people are talking and it's obviously very important dialogue, and I'm like, I kind of think I heard what they were talking about, but that would happen multiple times, and there's so much information that like I feel like I kind of understand, but also I'm like, maybe it's way more nuance. And I'm sure it is, like with the stuff with Strauss and like who was necessarily playing who and like and who wanted that image and whatnot.
Right.
So there's just a lot of information that I think the movie, I don't know how you could have maybe got me to understand it a bit better. I think definitely if I could hear things a bit clearer, that would, but for the most part, like, it just built this amazing picture of a time in history and the person who's, you know, a part of this, you know.
For sure. I guess I will say, you know, I maybe didn't experience that sound problem because I didn't experience the first couple minutes of this movie. I came in late and here's the thing. I only came in like 10, 15 minutes late and like it had been running for a few minutes, and I was like, these movies always have like 25, 30 minutes of preview. I know,
but it was because it was a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, well, I was cooling it. I was walking in, I was like, I got plenty of time. Go to the bathroom.
It pisses me off.
Yeah, so I need to see it again just for that. But I don't feel like I missed much. I mean, Ryan explained what happened. Like, I get it, you know. I saw it with my friend Ryan. But yeah, I think kind of bigger picture with this movie, I think, and maybe I've said this yet, I don't know, but this movie does a great job of like playing 3 different roles too. It like, you know, for that time where he's the leader of the Manhattan Project, most of it's acting as like a biopic, which I think that's a fascinating story just in itself.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of the movie is a character study on Oppenheimer, and in which you clearly get in that first act. You get a lot of time just learning who he is, and then the third part of that movie, all of that's fascinating. But then what's maybe even more fascinating for me is the mystery unraveling throughout the entire movie, and it's not till close to the end that you realize that Strauss has been the villain this whole time, and I don't know. I
see, that's the thing. I kind of figured that.
Did you? Okay, I didn't. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I did not. Yeah.
But the thing is, there is times near the end of that movie where like Emily Blunt's character's saying to him, because he's trying to get, he's having the hearings and Strauss is having the hearings, and oh my God. When they have Joel Edgerton like just going after him on his hearing, all of that, all the hearings where they're just constantly going, it was amazing. I mean, I don't want to like seem like negative about certain things because I think this movie is incredible. Like I think it's one of his best movies. I think it could be the best movie of the year. It is an amazing experience. But there's like she was saying like they'll never forgive you for you think that if you like beat yourself up enough or like like put yourself out there where people can just like they'll forgive you, and he's like, we'll see. And it felt like he was almost playing a game, which is why I'm like, because I think Strauss, like, there is a villainous thing to him, but there's also like a bit of it that's like maybe he's even being played a little bit by Oppenheimer, and also there's that bit where I'm still trying to understand things about like you have the scientists, they're like very old now. She's not shaking those people's fucking hands, and it's like they're doing it. But like, I don't know if I necessarily understand.
Well, she only didn't shake the one guy's hand.
She wasn't that, but I think that was I think that was supposed to be like, she was not shaking all of those people's hands.
I think anyone who spoke badly on Oppenheimer and kind of screwed him in that hearing, that private hearing, she wasn't going to shake their hand. And that's what that guy did.
I think it might be more than that. I think it's like you guys. Yes, but I think
it's more about Oppenheimer than it is about the whole bomb situation.
Yes, I mean, yeah, for sure. But I think there's more like they're doing it to feel better about themselves, about the making of the bigger explosions, wanting to use it for the like. I think there's more going on there that I would like. I want to watch it again because I feel like there is.
Speaking of more going on,
nuances with that.
I didn't see it. I didn't realize it while watching the movie, but the scene, like I was explained after by our friend Jared, and he explained to me that Florence Pugh's character, I can't remember her name, but her death scene, I just assumed that it was a suicide.
Yes, it is very interesting. Yeah, the black glove thing.
Well, also the fact that there's a man following Oppenheimer as he goes up to the apartment, and there's never any follow up to that. But like, I believe that person is probably the killer. Like I think that and the black glove alone, like that's enough for me to think that's a killing.
There's at least an implication.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I know also things like I think one of Oppenheimer's like descendants was saying that they were very upset that apple scene was in the movie because they were like, there was no.
Which one is that?
Where he poisons the apple for his professor that he doesn't like.
So that's part of what I missed, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
So like they were like, so
I knew he poisoned the professor. I just didn't know how. Yeah.
But he didn't.
Right.
But I don't know. There's a lot of things like that, I think, that are put in there that, you know, it's like, something to look into.
Kind of make him seem like more of a worse person than he is, maybe.
But also like that conspiracy aspect of like the person who could have killed her. Like, there's
some liberties probably taken, but it's for a good story.
Very interesting, at least to like think about.
So yeah, we don't usually do this, but do you have like a favorite scene or like 3 favorite scenes you have in this movie? Because I feel like you could probably just keep talking on this movie forever. But this maybe feels like a good finale for it.
When there was 2 times it happened, but when he's giving the speech after the bomb has gone off,
that's my favorite scene.
And it is, I don't know how they did it.
Yeah,
which is when people talk about like movie magic or iconic things, like I feel like when that screen behind him is shaking, I don't know how they fucking did that. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it does so much for the scene. And like, it's silent at times.
Yeah, I was going to say the sound editing is like incredible because it's silence except for Oppenheimer. Yeah. And then you just get this like a mimic of the bomb, and just like noise pours in, and it's jarring as hell.
And it's not. Yeah, you could have gone, I feel like, really over the top with the depiction of what people's bodies would look like potentially.
Sure,
but it feels very rather like.
But I've heard that how realistic that was, at least.
You know, you know what I'm saying, like and that's what's like more affecting.
Absolutely.
And like and I just feel like he took everything so seriously. I mean, like when the bomb goes off, like it was that long wait.
Yeah.
I will say, like, there was moments that were bigger explosion wise that you could feel more. The bomb didn't necessarily to me feel as explosive and as big as like when the sound eventually hit.
Sure.
But like there's that scene. Obviously when he's being grilled, I think is like all of that, you know, it's not necessarily a scene, but it's all the cutting, and it just has this amazing like flow and I mean also the music is incredible. I mean, this is the second movie that he hasn't worked with Hans Zimmer on. Yeah. But I mean, Ludwig Göransson
he killed it. Yeah. I mean,
I was listening to the soundtrack like in the car afterwards. I mean, it was great. It's amazing.
I gotta start listening to that. Yeah. So yeah, that was your favorite scenes?
I mean, there was a lot.
I mean, speaking on that first one though, like I truly loved him walking out of that speech and seeing the few that were like truly distraught by the bombing.
Rules was throwing up.
Yeah, he was. And you know, there's a woman in the crowd crying and multiple people outside crying, and and like you felt how real that was, you know, that there would be people who felt the consequences. Yeah. Truly, truly great.
Yeah, I don't know if there's.
I mean, I can name a couple more mine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I really love the scene in the hearing where he's kind of being asked about the affair, and she's just witnessing it technically unfold right in front of her.
Yeah,
and I think Florence Pugh's looking like right at her, right?
Just cuckolding.
Yeah. I thought that was really great editing. And I think the final scene for me is maybe a top 3 where
that's great.
Where I can't.
Albert Einstein.
Alden Ehrenreich's character. Whatever. Yeah, I don't remember how to pronounce his name, but he's basically saying to Strauss how, you know, maybe they weren't talking about you that day. Maybe they had something more important to talk about.
Yeah, that was great. That was really great.
Yeah, it goes right to that conversation. And yeah, like I feel like that quote from Oppenheimer, like maybe we started a chain of reaction that, you know, it's not, I'm not quoting it exactly. Like maybe,
but remember when I said like we could, you know,
we could start a chain reaction and
well, I think we did.
Right. And I think that is like the perfect explanation for why Albert Einstein's looking how he is, you know, towards Strauss. And then you get that zoom in and
that's it.
Yeah. So good. So good.
I do want to mention maybe like one or two things. I guess what I wanted to say about they're not necessarily negatives, but the pace of the movie, sometimes I felt the dialogue was very fast and some scenes could have been drawn out just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I also wonder how much, and it always happens with Christopher Nolan movies. And there were quiet scenes, but the music is constantly in this movie, is constantly building and doing things. I wonder how different this movie would be without the music as much. And that would be something that I'd be interested in, because it does feel like a lot of the movie is almost propelled by the music.
Right.
And I'm just like, because the times that I feel like I'm supposed to be emotional, like when Florence Pugh's character dies and he's distraught, I didn't necessarily feel emotional.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's because I just didn't love that relationship in the first place. So it's hard for me to get emotional about that. But
I think Cillian Murphy did amazing job. And I think it's beautifully shot, beautifully directed.
Yeah. Beautiful
could be
overall theme.
It could be his best movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to watch it more. But yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible, and I don't
totally agree. I think that's I want to say that's all I had to say. Yeah. It's truly a masterpiece.
Yeah, I guess I'll say, like, watching this felt like watching There Will Be Blood for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Which is like when a director has just made something that is almost perfect.
Yeah.
And the lead actor is like, they've done their best work ever.
Right.
That was Paul Thomas Anderson and Daniel Day-Lewis. And they're both like the same length almost, and they both are like, so it just felt like great. It was amazing.
I haven't seen the movie, but
maybe we should watch it tonight.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Is it long?
I mean, it is long. It is long.
Yeah, well, it's a maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it for the podcast this week. But I hope you enjoyed listening or watching if you're on YouTube. But yeah, we like to upload on, I guess it will be Sundays in the future. What are we thinking? Yeah.
Probably Sundays.
Yeah, if not Saturday. But if you'd like to watch us in the future, we release on Podbean and Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we upload the video version to YouTube. And if you want to follow us on our socials, we are at LastWeekThisWeekPod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to support us a little more, we would always appreciate a like, a comment, a rating, a review, or a subscribe.
Yeah. And shout out to Joe at Modern Studios in Manassas.
Link will be in the description.
Link will be in description if you want to book time here.
Yep.
And if we do decide to do the live stream version of the podcast bi-weekly, you can join us for that.
Yeah. We'll probably be live streaming on YouTube, I would assume.
Probably.
Yeah.
But we will make an announcement about that before we do so.
We will. Yes.
So
that you all know if we're doing it or if you know when to join. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Let us know what you think about anything that we talked about today.
Yeah. Let us know your opinions on the finale and Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Yeah. Well, until next time.